Day in, day out, many of us rely on presentations to communicate our ideas. May it be in a meeting with our peers, in meetings with clients, and today, mostly in virtual meetings such as Zoom, MS Teams, and the like. But did you realize many of us make these same mistakes in presentations? Welcome to another episode of Amazing Sticky Presentations inspired by Sticky Spy, bringing you tips, ideas, design for better presentations, turning your ideas into lasting impressions. Hello. If you are new to this channel and don't know me, my name is Tian Teck, and I help individuals communicate with confidence through high-impact presentations. A good presentation is not just relying on how well the presenter speaks or how beautiful the design of the slides are. It is a combination of many factors. Two components play a major role, and they are the speaker and the slides. For a good presentation, we need to pay attention to both the slide content and the delivery. The choice of text used in the slides, the images, and the overall composition, the tone of voice, the speed and mood of delivery, and the story connecting the slides. Having said that, let's dive very quickly into the 5 mistakes that most presenters make when designing their presentation. Mistake number 1, not focusing on key messages. Not focusing on key messages is one of the biggest mistakes that many presenters make. When designing our presentations, we need to narrow down the content of our topic to important areas. Areas that are directly related to the objective of the presentation. Very often, the topic is too wide, making the presentation difficult to understand. When we are not focused, we tend to include too many things on the presentation slides, thus making it difficult for the audience to follow. In situations when the content is technical, this makes it even harder to the audience to follow, not to mention understanding it. Not focusing on key messages can very quickly kill the presentation. Mistake number 2, not knowing the audience. Not knowing the audience is another common mistake when designing presentations. The main issue with not knowing the audience is that we end up with presentations content that the audience has no interest in. Many times, we are too focused about what we want to include in the presentation without understanding who are we presenting to. Doing a little research about the audience and finding out who they are and their preferences will help us craft and design the presentation to closely match the audience interests. This will not only make the content relevant to the audience, but also will engage the audience better. Mistake number 3, not knowing the subject well enough. Quite often, we are constantly in a rush due to busy schedule or being asked to present at the last minute. And we miss out doing proper research in the subject of our presentation. With shallow knowledge of the subject, we are unable to elaborate further to persuade or convince the audience to accept our ideas. When the audience do not believe what we are sharing, the outcome of the session will not be good. We will miss the chance to achieve the objective of the presentation. May it be to sell a product, a service, or to get signed off for a proposal. Even if the objective of the presentation is just for sharing information, then we have failed to make the information useful to the audience when we fail to prepare enough. Believe me, I make this same mistake too. Mistake number 4, inconclusive ending. Have you experienced seeing a presentation and not knowing that it has concluded? I have experienced this many times. The content was interesting and you are expecting it to continue to conclude, but it suddenly stopped and you are wondering what had happened. Inconclusive ending can create negative experience for your audience. It is a good practice to include a short summary or conclusion to your presentation. If we are dealing with business presentation, there are a lot of data in the presentation. And one thing for sure is that the audience expect a recommendation or a viewpoint from the presenter. So it is good to conclude your presentation with a clear takeaway message. Mistake number 5, showing thank you on the last slide. This is one mistake that I see every day. Thank you on the last or final slide? Why? Why? Ask yourself this question. Does showing thank you on the last or final slide add any value to the presentation? Is this one way to correct mistake number 4 above, to show that you have concluded the presentation? If you think about it, the last slide might be the longest exposed slide in the whole presentation. If we stay on after the presentation to answer questions from the audience, what our audience kept seeing is thank you for the duration while we are answering questions. This is not good. We should be showing something valuable like the takeaway message on the final slide. We can show action plans or a key learning from the content of the presentation, or a related famous quote, or an inspiring image, but not thank you, the end, or Q&A. So, those are the 5 common mistakes that I want to talk about in this video. Hopefully, we get better in avoiding these common mistakes that many presenters make. What other common mistakes that you have encountered in presentations that you have attended? Share your insights with other YouTube viewers in the comments below. Until my next video, try to avoid those 5 common mistakes made by many presenters and be amazing in your next presentation. Bye-bye.